Hello everyone, welcome to our session. Today we'll discuss about module S2, relationship implementation, which is somehow similar with module D2, just that now we not only do and understand the design of a relationship, but also how we implement it in SQL, and moreover, how we ask queries about such a relationship. So let's start by seeing if you have any questions related to this module or previous modules, any questions that you want to put. So the module S2, relationship and simple queries, is very similar with the module S1. There is a little bit of a change in what you are required to do. So let's go very fast over the requirements. You start by studying the learning materials, and don't go on without looking at least at the required learning materials and doing all the activities that are in those learning materials. So you will have an understanding of what you need to do next. Then you have the cumulative test that basically tests the theories that you learn in the learning materials. So also don't go on without doing the cumulative test. And also what is very important is these guided assignments. The guided assignment is designed to show you, in a way, step by step, how to do the homework, the implementation assignment. So it will guide you step by step through a process that is very similar with the process that you need to follow in the implementation assignment. So some of you said, oh, I had no idea how to start or how to start working on the implementation assignment. It's exactly how it's designed in the guided assignment. Sure, not all steps are there and it's not complete, but it's just pointing the main elements of it. So it's important for you to try to do the guided assignment first. And also, if you want, you can take notes from it. If you think, okay, this command may help me, you can take notes when you do it. It's requiring the responsive background browser, but there's no video link, so I don't have a problem if you take notes based on it. You can make your list of commands. So this way, when you go to the implementation assignment, you will know what you need to do for the implementation assignment. Now, the implementation assignment, it's sure it's giving you a problem similar with the problem in D2. Now, it's probably different from the one in D2, so you will need to solve this problem, not the D2 problem. Be careful. Don't copy-paste that solution from D2 because probably the specification here, it's different. And you need to do the design and then do the implementation for it. And how you do the implementation, as I said, similar with the guided assignment. So if you have questions, better ask. So if you don't understand something, if you think, okay, I don't know, I don't understand what I need to do, how I need to do, ask now during these online sessions or ask by email anytime. So then it's the forum. And here in the forum, I want again to discuss what I want you to do. It's not that you need to think about everything that you've done in the module. Here, I just want you to pick one issue, one problem that you had, very specific problem, something that you didn't understood. Like in module S1, let me give an example. I didn't understood how to write dates as values when I add them to the database. So, and this is a very specific problem. So if this is your problem, okay, how you figure out? Maybe you use the W3 schools, the materials from there, or you use the video. Then you say, okay, I found this particular material, and you need to provide a link with whatever you found, as is specified there. So be very specific what you found. What you learn, I learned that I need to put them in between quotes and write them in a specific format. And then that's the link. But you need to be specific and to describe this process. If you write 10 things that you didn't understand, very general and without going specific, that's not the intention. The intention of this exercise is for you to concentrate on something think about how you solve it. And going back to this and going through this process will, generally help you to better understand and also will help others when reading. If they have the same problem, they may say, "Oh, that was interesting. Let me see what you found there." Now, when you give a recommendation, and that's what you need to do here, you need to go and give some recommendation to two other students. Here you can give to more, or even if you already gave some recommendation, you can give others new recommendations. So it's not a problem. You need to follow the same thing. To be specific. Don't say, "Oh, yeah, I had the same problem," or "Yeah, what you did is great." These are good feedbacks, but are not recommendations. So basically, you read the link. You had the same problem, or you found in the materials, in the learning materials, the answer, or you found on the YouTube or in some article the answer. Provide that link. That's a recommendation. If you recommend how that student may better understand the topic. So. But again, be specific. Don't just describe. Give a link. Show that you indeed. If they say, "Oh, search on YouTube for an answer," that's not helpful. Sure, you can search on the internet for an answer, but it's not a recommendation. Not something that it's helpful. So, so you first need to start by looking back at S1, looking over the posts made by students, and picking two and giving two recommendations, two different recommendations. So don't repeat your post, don't repeat the same recommendation to two students, but looking what problem they had, if you had the same problem, if you solved the same problem, which is very likely because the problems are related to the module. If you completed the module, it's likely you already had some solutions to them, probably different from what others found. Provide such recommendation, and also don't copy previous recommendation given by other students because that's cheating. So don't do that. If you have nothing to add new, don't add anything at all. And I ask you for two. It's not too much because there are so many topics, there are so many issues. I am sure you will find two, even if they are a little bit different now than your problems. Now, after you did this for S1, you need to move to S2 and do the same thing. And sure, go through the same process, be specific. Now, both forums, while I answer to them, they are not graded. So these are just for you to communicate between you. What is graded is a self-reflection assignment. So this one is the one that is graded. And here you need to copy paste as text, not take pictures, just copy paste as text. And you can reformat a little bit if you want. So it's not a problem if you reformat the text to better answer. But because 20% of each element is related to how you organize your answer. So if it's not organized, if it's just a long sentence, not organized, maybe not even in the order of in which you're asked to provide things, it will not look good. So you need to provide a nice answer. Now, again, why this exercise is important? Self-reflection was proven that it's helpful in addressing more difficult issues in a course. So this kind of exercise will help you to understand the most difficult issues. And I also monitor them, and I may provide more feedback as I read the post. If I see the same kind of problem that appears, or if I think this problem is significant enough. So generally after the end of grace period, I am also taking some actions based on this feedback, and you will see that after the end of grace period for us. So visual self-reflection, and sure, then you have the bonus activities that you may submit. These are intended for you to submit because they can cover some issues that you had with some tests. So doing the bonus activities, doing your homework in time, getting good grades for it will compensate for small mistakes that you say they are, I'm giving you bonus for doing homework in time, which you are required, just to compensate, for small mistakes that you do, and you say, okay, I try to take again a cumulative test just because I mess up a little bit my answer. That's why we have bonus activities, so you don't need to, you can still have an A+ without retaking the test if you just had a few mistakes in it. Then is a quiz, and the quiz is from everything, so you need to prepare for it. And then you may submit again manual grading request for the quiz, and you have time in the next modules to submit a correction for the implementation assignment. So you will have time to correct if you make mistakes in the implementation assignment. Now, so you will put answers for, so why is this that you may say, okay, why I have the S1 recommendations in S2 module? Because in order for you to post recommendations, the other students need to post their problems. So, and it's hard to synchronize. And just to be sure that you don't forget, I put this link here. Sure, this you may consider is part of S1 module, and it is. S1 self-reflection forum is in a way part of S1, but it will be posted here and graded here because now you have all the posts, or almost all the posts from S1, and you will have, you can look at what others had, what other problems were, and you can pick one or two to provide feedback related to that. Now, sometimes you may know, oh, this is so general, I don't know what feedback to provide. In that case, if you may say, oh, if you had this problem, and the problem is somehow under the description that the student provides. Let's say if he said, oh, I didn't know how to write or when to use semicolon. And how to write MySQL commands. And one of the problems that one may have, and maybe you had, was when to put the semicolon, or forgot to put semicolon, and you stay a lot to debug until you figure out, okay, all command needs to end with semicolon. So then you can put, okay, yeah, I had the same problem with the semicolon, and here is the description when you actually one of the links that you have in the learning material, in which the syntax is provided for all the commands, and it's stated that all the SQL commands are ending with semicolon. And sure, even if it's a link to the learning materials, that's okay, because some people may have not saw it or maybe skip very fast through it. So I'm not asking you to provide necessarily a new link. If it's something that it's already in the course, that's okay. You just tell the student, okay, you have this problem. Look, there is a solution to it in the course material. This is the link, and that's a perfect legit answer. However, don't duplicate it. If another student already said that, don't say it again because it makes no sense. So, if you are first one, it's much easier to give feedback. If you wait until the last moment, probably you will need to do a little bit of search to be able to provide some recommendations. But my experience is that always you will find things that you know and others don't. So don't be afraid of this taking too much time. Now, keep in mind that this is a kind of fun exercise in the sense that you just write about the experiences and you get 0.5 points. You just need to be specific. It's not wrong, wrong question, as long as you follow the requirements and you are specific with the problem, with your solution, with the recommendation, you get the points. Even if it's not the best link, I don't judge how good is the link that you provide. It needs to be related to the problem. And if it was good for you, that was important. It's not that it needs to be the best link or good for me. It's important what was good for you, because everybody learns differently, and I may say, okay, this link is too complex and doesn't clearly state something, but in your opinion, it's very easy and very clear. So that's something that may happen. So yes, you will need to put recommendations also for S2 topics, S2 problems, but we'll do that during the next module, which actually is a project module, or S3 module. That's where we'll do it. Probably I'll move it to S3 module just to have them one after another. So yes, you will need to do that in S3 module. We will provide feedback to S2 post. But if you do it early, it's okay, it's not a problem. Then I will post the link and you are able to do it. Okay, so what we did last time was to start discussing about one model, one possible requirement. And I asked you to elicit from me the requirements. And the requirements were about topics in the course. And we created a small database and we queried it. Similarly with what you needed to do in your homework for these topics database. So what we'll do now, we'll do something very similar. We'll take the same problem, we'll make it a little bit more complex, but we'll go through all the phases, and you need to do it in the homework. So if you follow this video, it will help you following and solving your homework. And I will switch a little bit between various screens just to show you that indeed, if you follow what we did last time in class, basically it was exactly what you needed to do in the homework. And if you follow what we do today in class, it's exactly what you need to do in the homework. So that's the best help that you can get for the homework. Okay, so let's start a new model. And I will save this model. With a new, I'll put it on the desktop. So this will be S2 IT214 Topics as a file. And this is a model file. And always you need to submit this file with your homework. So you see, as I created the module, I save it so I know from where to take it and put it in my answer. And we'll add a new diagram. We'll add several diagrams, but this will be the first one. And let's put first a description of the specification. And I will write the specification here. You don't need to do that, but I'll write it so you will have it with a solution. So let's make a little bit more complicated the specification from last time. So customer wants to create a database that will keep the topics organized in modules. So the main difference here is that we no longer want the topics, just topics, we want to organize these topics in various modules. And we'll make this a little bit complicated and more complicated. So we'll have various examples of relationships to implement. So this will be like the base element, and then we'll for a topic we will keep its name and definition. And for a module, we will, oops, let me see if I can do this, yes. So we will have code, and because it's a code, I will give you an example like DD D1, D1, S3, and so on, like we have in the course, and description, and the title, let's put this one, title and description, and so now what we like to better clarify is the relationship. So we describe a little bit the 12 elements that interact here. Okay, so there is no posting for S1. Yes, I'll need to check that. Usually I post them, but if I haven't, maybe I didn't save. I put it there and close without saving or something. So yes, I will check the recording and be sure that it is after we finish the lesson. It will be there today. Now, what we need to clarify in the specification now is the relationship between the modules and the topics. And we'll have several relationships that we'll describe, but let's start with one of them. And the first one that we'll describe is let's put like this. A topic is introduced in a given module, but a module introduces several topics. So basically describe here better. Something is wrong here. I don't know what's happening. Okay, we describe here better the relationship between topic and module. Now, let's start. And what I will do for speed reasons, we'll use also the chat for you to provide answers. And you take, you can take screenshots of the chat as I will write you here, for instance, question 1. And I will briefly tell what question 1 is about. You will provide in the chat the answer, and then you take a screenshot, and this you can put for your bonus points in the homework. So, which are the entities in this specification? So the suggestions that I receive, and they are very good, it's topic and module. These are the two entities that appear, and sure, we like to create them in our design. So first one is topic, and the second one will be module. So these are the two entities, and sure, we can put one of them first, the other one second, and so on. Now, next, we'll go in describing them, and again, I will go pretty fast with them. I am asking you to provide me from the specifications, which are the attribute names. So give me names for the attributes that are indicated in the specification for the entity module. And sure, I will write you here, question 2, module attributes. So just the name of the attributes for the entity module. This is working much faster this way. So very good suggestions. We have 3 attributes that are indicated: code, then we have title, and when we go with customer language, if this is not a problem, if it's not an issue with our design, and description. Now, as you can see, we have various characteristics that we need to decide. Before I go, so let's do the primary key first. I know we also have the data type. I will skip the data type for now. So it's wrong what is there, but let's do the primary key for module. Let's decide which will be a good candidate key for module. And what primary key do you propose? And sure, feel free to use any suggestion. Now, I know that this normally is not done right now. I'm just trying to put you to think more, because usually we do this after we do an analysis of each of the attributes. But I want you to try to think as the primary key now, just to ask you to do more, and then we'll come back to it. So what will be a suggestion for the primary key? So very good suggestion. Code, it's a good candidate for the primary key. And let's see what. First of all, let's discuss code. I'll make it primary key, and then let's discuss code. What data type code, what data type will be good for code? What data type, what domain you will put for the code? So query for is domain for code. Now, as we did for the code, it's variable in size, the code, and we put 5 characters if we are the customer. Here again, you don't know how big is the title. I don't give you an example. You may assume, you may know from the course. I have 15, 20. Sure, this seems reasonable, but you don't know yet the name. So I would say if you put something 20 to 30, it's okay. That's what I will put based on what you saw up to now in the course. So let's put here a 30. Now, we also have a description, and as you know, the description are pretty tricky. You need to look in the specification if it's anything, or if not, you need to allow for some fair long description. Let's put here a 300, because this will be like 4 lines of code, 4 lines of text or so. So this will give you a good description. Now, there are some issues that are not clearly explained. So let me update here a little bit the specification. So our description will make sense. And these will be like assumptions that I make at this point, but in the future they might be just. Let's put here some assumptions, because these were not in the original description, but this will show what kind of assumptions you will do if something is not specified, and this will be fine. So making these assumptions will show whoever grades you that you thought about it and you took the right decision. Code may have maximum 5 characters. The title 30 and the description 300. So this clarified all the sizes that we provided, and again, this is important for a solution when the specification is not complete. Now, usually I try to be complete in all the specifications, so you usually will have these values already specified in the problem. Now, for the topic, I will go with the previous description that we had last time, if I remember correctly. So we had an ID, which was an int, I think. Then we had we decided to have a short, I think, in the implementation name. and a short definition, because to avoid some duplications. And here I don't remember the size is very right, but let's put 50. I don't know if it was 50, and let's put 500. I know that here we put more, so let's put 500. And these were required and unique. Good. So this is a topic, this is a module, and they are well defined. And this is the module. We need to put also the title is required and unique, but for description, I didn't say anything. We may assume that is required and also unique. Make no sense to have the same description to two different modules. Again, many times when we implement, we don't test, we don't mention, even if description is unique, we don't mention it because we don't want to be tested each time when it's modified, which might be pretty time consuming. So sometimes some attributes, if we don't need to test them, that they are unique, even if they are unique, we don't mention them in the implementation. However, in the design, we may keep them just to show that we mention that is not tested in the implementation. Now, these give us the entities. We also have here a relationship. So let's look what kind of relationship is already expressed. So this will be query 6. And try to express the relationship in the standard in natural language. So just entity, name, entity. So so tell me the relationship that you see here. Now, here it's a simple relationship. We know that a topic is introduced in a given module, but so a topic is introduced in a given module, but a module introduces several topics. So let's see, I have something between module and topic. Now, how we name it, we can have a relation from topic to module or from module to topic. Both of them will be fine, but usually when we put them on the diagram, we put the relationship from one to many. So let's see who is one, who is many, or maybe it's a many to many. Let's check that. So what we know, it's a topic, it's introduced in one module. So module needs to be one. So for module, we have one. Now a module introduces many topics. So for topic, we have many. So we have one module, many topics. This is the relationship. So to do that, we'll do the relationship from module to topic. And let's draw it. It will be a weak relationship in this case because there are two independent entities. So we'll draw it, and you always click first on the many part, like I did here, and then on the one part. And here I also put caption 2, so which is the one from module to topic, now some people prefer caption 1. Doesn't matter, that's what I prefer, but you need to be consistent. You cannot change from one place to another. I generally ask you in the course to put caption 2 because it's easier to read. Module introduces topic. So this is how it looks, and now we need to see what kind of participation we have and how we represent this. In this case, and you see, as soon as I did that, the foreign key, a new attribute is automatically created for us, and this new attribute is named foreign key. This is how it's a relationship is stored, and we learn about this in module D2. And it looks good. Module code, it looks like a good name for the foreign key. Now we need to be sure that we have the right type, but we need to also be sure that we have the right participation. So a topic must be introduced in a module. That's what I understand. But topic is introduced in a given module. So for each topic, I have a given module. So this participation is mandatory as it's represented. And the module introduces several topics. And it makes sense. It doesn't make sense to have a module that will not introduce several topics. But actually, you may have, for instance, think about final exam. You don't want to introduce any new topic in the final exam. You will have things to test, but you will not introduce topics. So if you think from a course perspective, we like a clarification here, and we can do that. We can ask for a classification, and we may say there are modules that do not introduce any topic. So again, usually you have already this, but I want to show you why each phrase in your specification it's telling you something. So usually in your specification you have this information already given, but if you're not given, you need to ask the customer. In this case, I am the customer. So how we represent that this one is optional here. That's an interesting question. So how I will be able to represent that something is optional? And one way to do it is just to say that module code is not required. So I can have no module code. So to be optional, I need to go in the relationship. And sometimes that I have a menu here because I project on a very low resolution screen. The menu does not appear. Let me try again. No, it's not changing the. Okay, it changed the file. So you go foreign key, and you see for module we have this participation, if it's mandatory or not. So what we want to say is that my topic is not mandatory. I may have modules who are not introducing any topic. So the topic is optional. So that's all that I want to put here. And now we have the description. Let's start to do the implementation. Before I move on, so again, let's see what you need to do in your homework and see how we'll do that assignment. And sure, as I said, the guided assignment is pretty much guiding you to the new stuff. There is all stuff that is already introduced, but let's look. Let's say I want to do this one, and let's see what. First of all, you get instructions, and it's very important for you to read these instructions and to follow them. So these are very important. If you want, you can copy them because you need to follow all these instructions. You have some tasks that you need to cover, and you have here a template. Be sure that you follow this template in your answer. You provide all of this. For instance, you start with the ERD model. We did the ERD model, and must have heading, and then must have the screenshot of the ERD that we did. So be sure you include that. Then you need to create the database. This is the second task. And we'll write all the SQL in a single file, but it's task by task. So then what you need to, including the report, are what is here and so on. So be sure you follow these indications as they are described. Now, and put all these comments and everything. Don't skip anything from this description. So what we need to do is to create the database, to create the tables, to add data, and put some questions. Now, what is important is that some things will be provided to you in the query. So this is a general description, but some details will be provided to you in the query. So if I continue here, what you will see, you will still have the general information, but then you will have some details. So you will have the requirement specification that describe what is your specific problem, like I wrote here in the text for our problem. And you will have some constraints for the data. I'm asking you to put some constraints here to add more data than it's provided. And to put some constraints to your ready data, you need to be sure that your data satisfy these constraints. So don't just add random data. Be sure that the data that you edit, for instance, the search trainer must have at least 2 customers. So you are sure that when you enter the data, you have a trainer that has 2 customers and so on. So that's what you need to do. And then you have some questions that you need to answer. And sure, I made sure that these constraints will give you good answers for the questions. That's why I put the constraints and allow you to put random data and put random data. Don't copy from the internet what other students put, because most likely they have different constraints, they have different specifications. So if you copy data from the internet, you will get 0 if in the assignment. So put data that satisfy these conditions. And then, sure, you will need to attach all these files, the PDF, the model file, and the SQL file. So I showed you how to create the model file. We save it on the desktop. Now we write all the script in the script file, and we'll save it on the desktop as well. Now, I'll keep this one here, and I will guide you through the process. So we'll do step by step what you will be asked to do in the homework. So let me move back to the SQL. So let's now go back to and generate these scripts. And again, you need to do this yourself, following the requirements. And the first requirement after we do the model is to create the database. And in this requirement, we even have the first one is to include a comment. So let's start with the comment, and we can put a comment with pound sign, and that will say task to create database by, and here I write my name, but in the answer you need to write your name. So you say, why I need to write my name everywhere? Just to be sure that you do it yourself. It will become so annoying if you need to modify something that you copied from the internet that you realize, oh, it's much easier if I write it from scratch myself. So it's to discourage you to copy stuff. It's much better to do it yourself. So then, and I'll write here, so let me also write the requirement so you can see the requirement and how we solve it. So first requirement was, you don't need to write the requirement, sure. So I will put here the requirement, these are the requirement, and then I showed you how I solved it. And then the next requirement is this one. And I will keep the same kind of syntax. So let me make this bigger so you can see it easily. So if there is a database with provided name, there is a data. Now, which is the provided name? That's something that most likely you need to decide. If it's not non-specified in the specification, you will need to pick one. If your specification indicates what database you need to build, use that name here. let me put another easy question for you, so you'll participate, which will be DB name that you suggest for our model, and I'll put back the model here. So which will be a DB name for this model, database name for this model that you suggest. So we decided on the name as to IT214 topic, and needs to be a specific name. And what we want to do next is to provide the SQL command if there is a database with this provided name to delete that database. So let's see how we do that. So the right syntax is drop database to drop the database. If exists, is telling me if to delete this database only if I have one, and not to give me an error if I don't have one. And then I provide the name of the database. Sure, if I execute now, and I will save these files first. So let me save this script first. And again, it's asking me where to save, and I will put here on the desktop as to IT214 topic. And this will be the script to create the database. So this will be the script. It's somehow similar with this one, but it will have more stuff to do here. Now, let's go and continue our script. The next thing that we need to do, and again, I will put it here, so you will have it, is to add a database with that name. So I have the name, I want to add the database. I drop it already. Why I drop it? Because if you want to run this script again and again, you don't want to keep any bad things that you did in your previous trial. So normally you don't drop a database because you lose everything, but because our script will do everything from scratch for us, we'll put everything back, then we can run this script and bring back the database in a known state. So let's see how we add a database for this name. So this will be query 9 add DB. Okay, so we got to, let me close this one. And we got good answers. So what we need is to create this database, and we do this using the command create database. And now we can put if exist or if not exist. Basically, we want to create it not exist, but we know that doesn't exist because we just drop it. So we don't need to take anything in account because we know in this state we must not have such a database because we drop it, just drop it. So we'll create the database, and I can just write the name here. And let me copy this name just to be sure. To copy, not to delete, to be sure that I use the correct one. So you don't need to use if exist, if not exist in this case because we know the state and there is not something that will help us. So we did this, and let's run it to be sure that it's running correctly. And as you see, drop, it's giving me a warning because I have nothing, and then create will create it. Now, if I run again, drop will no longer give me a warning. You see number 3 here because now I have one, and this is the one that will be. So let's clear the list. Now we can move on, and what we want to do is the next operation. The next operation, which is mark the created database as the default database for all the following operations. And this is something that we always do when we start to write a script. We generally say, okay, all these scripts will need to be executed on this database. Sure, you can do this before you run the script to change, but putting in the script, it's much easier to know where it will be executed. So let me see. To mark a database as default, to use the command use and the database name, and this command will allow us to specify that all the operations that follow are related to this database. So here you don't put use database, you just put use, because use can work only with databases. That's why we don't need to put database after use. So, and you need to put the name of the database, which is the same name as before. So moving on. Now we need to show all the databases, and if you have many, I have many, so I need to look and search for the ones that I created in the list. If you have a few, it will appear very easily in your list. The command to see all the databases is show databases. And we will display all the databases in your system. So let's run. And here is the output for my system. Now I need to search for this one, but I found it here. Is the S2 IT214 topics that we are working on. So indeed we identify it. If you don't have many, you just need to click on it like I did, and when you take the screenshot, or you prove your solution in the file. So let's make this one smaller so it can see more of the script, and I can clear these answers as well. Now this will conclude the task 2, and I'm asking you execute and debug the script in MySQL Workbench until it runs without error and performs the above operations. And you need to include a screenshot with the source code and the screenshot with the result bottom of the screen. If you can put everything in one screenshot, that's okay. If not, be sure you put several screenshots, 1, 2, 3, as many as you need to contain all these information. And when you show the table, be sure that you show also the database that was identified, like I did here. You know, I marked this is a database that I created. I marked that, okay, it was indeed created. Now, you can always make this, and sure, here I put a lot of comments. You don't need to do that. I put all these comments because I wanted you to see what you are required to do, how it's implemented. You just need to write the commands if nothing else is required. So your code will be much shorter than my code. But you can always make it bigger or smaller so it will fit your screenshot. So this was task 2. Let's move now to the next task. That will be task 3, that will continue the same script to create the tables. So important, you continue the same script, and the next operation is to include a comment, and like we did here, I will include the comment. I'm not asking you how to do that. And be sure you write your name, so don't write somebody else's name, because then it's clear you copy all those from somebody else. So list all the tables in the database, and you don't expect here to have any tables. So let's see how I do that. Yeah, so show tables will show me an empty list of tables. And the next thing that we want to do is to And this will be pretty big as a requirement. So we want to create the tables with the required specification. So the specifications that we have here and the specifications that we have here, we want to create these two tables in our code. Now, as you see, it's a single task, but will be a big one. So up to now, the tasks were very short. This one will be a big one because I have two tables that I want to create. And I will ask you how, and I will ask you line by line to provide me the information that I need to write. So let's do this step by step. Let's discuss first which will be the first table to implement. And there must be a table that does not require anything else. So when you want to think, okay, what I can implement now, you need to think, okay, what I have and what I can add to what I have that doesn't need anything else can be the first one in this case. So next question, which is the first table to implement? Now, the first table based on the presentations that we have is modules. So how I will start, that's how I start the name of the command to the name of the command and short, just the first line before I give attributes. So without attributes, just a line to create the table without specifying any attribute for now. Then we'll take the attributes one by one. So how I start the command until I reach the attributes. The way to start the command is to have create table, and because we can create many things, we need to specify what table in this case, and we will provide the name of the table, which is module. And sure, in your answer, you need to suffix or prefix or however you are asked, and I will put here just for to be sure that people will do it right, such a prefix. And this will help us also with the names because we no longer have naming problems if we do that. But just to be sure that you do it right, I use my initials. Will work only for some of you. Now, next I need to provide the attributes. So we want to create this code, which is a variable character of 5. So that's, and it's also the primary key, as you can see. So let's go back to our code and specify all this information. And here I will just tab. You can tab or use spaces or however you want. And I will put this code and my initials. And sure, with the code for a module, we decided is a variable character of 5. And is a primary key. Once I say that is a primary key, I know that is not null and unique. I don't repeat that, make no sense to repeat that. And just to be sure that what I wrote up to now it's working and it's good, I can run the code. Let's see what we get. And as you can see, run perfectly. So I have my table. Now, let's move to the next attribute. And here. So the next attribute, and see how we define it. So to add the next attribute, we'll have description. And I'll put my initials, the type, which is variable character of 300. And the characteristics, which is not null and unique. Now, as I said in the implementation, we may not want to, you see, I got an error here because I forgot to put a comma between the attributes. You need to have a comma. You may ask the customer if he wants to test the description as being unique. If not, even if it's unique, we may not introduce unique here. you may see if this is something in the specification. Sometimes you may say, yeah, this is unique, but we don't test it, or the customer doesn't want to impose it, or something, and then you don't need to put unique in the implementation, even if it's in the diagram, because it was part of the model. So sometimes you might have something like that. But usually, if it's not, we'll put all the conditions here. Now, this created a table very similar with how we created the table, the previous table. Now we'll do the next table, which is the topic table, and I will do it to be faster. So we have ID, that is the primary key, and an integer. So let's start with create table topic, and then I will have ID, which is an int, and primary key. Then I will have a name, and let's see what I put here. We put short name, short definition, just because we wanted to save this stuff. So what I will do now, just for you to see, because I put my initials, I no longer need to trick the SQL not to have so I'll just keep name and definition here, and as you can see, both of them are not null and unique. So let's go with these two. So I will have name, and this was, I think we put it 50, 500, 50 and 500. So varchar of 50, and this will be not null and unique. And we'll have a definition. And again, I put my initials, so we no longer need to worry about, and again, you can put not null and unique with the same observation like before. Now, the main change that appear is this foreign key. And the foreign key is very important to be specified exactly like it specified the reference primary key. So we did it in the models. We know that the foreign key reference is the primary key. Now, the name of the foreign key here can be module, and you don't put module MD code, you just put module code, and you put MD at the end. Otherwise means you just generate it without thinking. So I normally use module code, and you just suffix or prefix, depending how you are asking your particular semester. You need to check that in your specification, if you prefix, suffix, and use what. But here I suffix with my initials. And the type needs to be the same like the type from the previous one. And in this case, it's 5. The characteristics are specific. In this case, we know that this is required. The topic must have a module. So we need to specify here it is not null. And then we need to specify the foreign key. And we have many ways to do that. The easiest way is to specify it with references. And we need to say what is a referenced attribute and table for our modules. So that's something that is important, and you will need to be sure that you are doing it in the right way. And I want to show you to know that you have everything explained. Let me share with you. So, I cannot, I need to, okay. Let me show you, because people ask, okay, how do I know that? So in the readings, I put these W3 schools as required, and you see here I have for a database foreign keys as a section that you need to read. Now, if we go there and you look at the foreign keys, and sure, you got a foreign key to represent where you will look. It's normal you will look at foreign key. Yeah, let's go foreign key. And here you got all the ways in which you can represent a foreign key, and it's foreign key constraint. Here it's explaining you how to do with a foreign key constraint. And we will say, okay, foreign key, you specify the foreign key and what it references. And you can, it's showing you the two different syntaxes. You may have it as a separate line where you present. You can have it after the foreign key, and you can edit after that as well. So it's showing you all the potential syntax that you can use. Now, you may even not put foreign key. You can put only references because it will do exactly the same thing. Let me share back. So generally, the learning materials will pinpoint the required one will give you exactly what you need to know to do these exercises. And you can reference here the table module MB and the attribute code MB. And this one will create the foreign key. Sure, you can write foreign key, which is correct if you write foreign key here, but even if you put only references, it will do the same thing from our perspective. Now, I created now this new table. Let's run it just to be sure that everything is good, and everything seems good. So I created the two tables. The main issue here is this foreign key. So if you don't do it right, you will have trouble in your implementation. And as I said, you can do it here, or you can write it as a separate line. If I put it on a separate line, I need to specify which is the foreign key because I no longer know which attribute. And this writing it on a separate line is very useful if you have a composite foreign key. So if it's composite, you no longer can use inline definition. So the most general form is this one. When you write foreign key, and here I'll put module, code, and B, and then I specify, okay, these references this particular primary key. So I have a foreign key that references a primary key in another table, in our case, the module table. So that's the key, the most important element in our new syntax. Okay, so let's run it. We run it, it runs good. So let me go to the next requirement. And we have two more things that we want to do. And then we'll be able to start querying the stuff. So So the next thing is all the tables in the database, and these new two tables must appear now. So to show all the tables, we just show tables, and here is, if we run it, we have the two tables that we just created. So these are good. Now the next thing that we are asked to do and is to show the structure of the created tables. So show the structure of the created tables, and let's see how we do that. So to describe a table, we use describe or desc. It's okay, but let's write completely. And then the name of the table. You need to put the specific name. In our case, we have two tables. So let's describe first the module table, and then we'll describe the topic table. So these are the two tables that we want to describe. So let's say, let's clear this, and now let's run. And this is a module table that is described. What is important, you may see that I have not null for all of them, so all are required. I have a primary key, and I have some unique marked attributes. Now, if we go to the next one, which is the last result that we got, I will get the ID, which is a primary key. I will have name and definitions that are required and unique. But for the foreign key, I get this multiple that indicate me that I have many constraints, because it's also it's a foreign key. So it's a general indication of a potential foreign key or some other things. So that's how I identify here the module code. It's a foreign. Now, I don't have exact reference and so on, but it's good enough to know that, sure, I can look in the code to see that definition was correctly done. So let's move on now. This will complete the create tables part. And again, you execute, you put screenshots, be sure that you put these nice in your answer. And we go to task 4. And task 4 at the data will also start with a comment. So, and here I remind you that your task 4 will need to be done such that some constraints are satisfied. And you will see these constraints in your question, and are for you only. So are not for other students, are for you. So be sure you follow them. And just in order to, you usually receive some data and you need to add more data to the for the tables, and you are asked to, so we'll see, you will be asked to add 5 rows of data. So let's go on and oh, I didn't add the comment. So let me delete this one. And now solve this problem, which should be task 4. The solution. Okay, and now the next task that I am asked is to show all the data in your tables. And sure, I haven't put any data, so I expect these to be empty. So, but you want to show that they are indeed empty. Now, how we do that? So query 20, data. So how we do that, how we show. So I gave you 20 questions, so you had the opportunity to get maximum bonus points. That's why I stop now, and I will do the rest myself just to finish everything in time. Now, select star is showing me all the data, and I need to specify the table. So first of all, let's see everything from table module. If I execute this, you'll see it's nothing in the table module. So I can add now select star from the next table, which is topic. And there will be nothing in the table topic as well. And oops, there was an error. Now it will be nothing in the table topic as well. So these are empty. Now, as we define them in a given order, we need to add the data in the same order. And now, what we'll have, we need to do the following, which is pretty long. So here it's a long description. So what I will do, I will put this on several lines. Just for you to see the specifications of what you need to do. And something important that you need to do, be sure that you follow the constraints in your problem. And I will give you some example of constraints that you might have in your problem, and we'll see how we represent that information. So let's go here and let's put, for instance, one constraint may be just an example constraint. That you receive it in your so you want to see line number 32. It disappeared, line number disappeared for some strange reason. Let me try something. I can try to close and open, hopefully it will find it fast. Okay, now it will show it. So, kind of. Doesn't. Okay, now it will show it. Okay, so 32. This one is line number 32. Good. So let's imagine the following constraint for the modules. Let me take the tableau. Let's say you have a constraint. At least 2 modules contain the word design. So how will satisfy such a constraint? So first of all, we need to use the right command to add data. And there are many ways to add, and you don't have a single way. What I provided is one of the four, but in MySQL tutorial that I provided, you saw many ways in which you can add the data. So don't, if you use a different way, it's not a problem. So let's start by having insert into this will be module values. And now one way to do it is just to put list of values that are following the same order as the definition. So they must be in parentheses and have the values code, title, description. They need to follow this particular structure. So let's do that because it's the easiest way and it's how I recommend you to do it. So I'll have DB1 and this will be, the title will be Introduction to Databases. And the description, short introduction to various, to fundamental notions about databases. Okay, so that's like a single line of data, and usually what I recommend you put a line, test it. So you know that this one was working, and I got the green means I put it right. So this was working, so I can add a new line. So let's add a new one. I will need to put 5 such lines, and this will be D1, for instance, single entity design. This is the title, or design in the title I will put here. So this will be single entity design and how to design a model with a single entity. Entities, attributes, and their characteristics and keys. So I may say these are the main things that I present here. And again, we can close now the module. So again, I put a new line, I am checking it, it's working. I don't see it, but I see that it works correctly. So technically, it's correct. Now, I will give a few more. The two, this will be relationship. And I satisfied already my requirement because I want 2 modules to contain design. So this will be the second one containing design. So I satisfy my requirement at this point, and I will just be much faster in what I write here. Sure, the description can be longer, but I will write them shorter. So design one many, and many relationship. And here I close, and be sure that here I need to put a comma now, because I have more. So let's put D3, and this will be simple database design. And I will put here and the last one, because I need 5, D4, I will have design sure. So again, the description for the last few ones are very short. It's good to test after each line, doesn't take you long, and you will know where you made the mistake, because otherwise the errors might be hard to interpret. You will not know exactly which line gave you the mistake. So this added some values in the in one of the, and I showed you how this constraint is represented. Same thing, you need to be sure all the constraints that satisfy the data. Now I want to put 5 rows in topic. And sure, I already have a few in the previous, I have 4 in the previous one. And I will take all of these, and I will add one more. So here it's almost correct because what is missing here is missing the foreign key. So I need to add the module code in which they are introduced. And the first 3 of them are introduced and the first 4 of them are introduced in V1. So what I will need to put here will be to add the V1, which will be the module in which these are added. And for the sake of testing, I will add one more that is in, for instance, B2. So let's put here 2, 2, 1, 1, and I will have 1, 2, relationship. And here I'll have a definition, a relationship, blah, blah, blah. And this will be in the module D2. Okay, and here I need to put a comma. Now, what is important is that I ask you for 5 data points in each of the tables. Sure, it will not be complete. That's why I'm asking only for 5 data points. Sure, normally all of these modules must have a lot of topics. So you will expect to have a lot of topics here, but I don't need to put them if if I have a required. If the participation is not optional, like in my case, then I will need to put at least 1 to each of them. But here I have participation optional, so I don't need to put more than I can put none. So it will not be a complete database, and I don't expect you to do a complete one, but it will be good enough for us to be able to test. So this was the longest part to have this data introduced. So let's run it now. And we didn't get any errors. So let's move to the next requirement. So the next requirement will be to show again all the data in your tables. And now we expect at least 5 rows. As I said, you might end up needing more than 5 because if you have something required in order to do the constraints that I am asking you to do, you may need to put more than 5. But if you don't, 5, it will be fine. So this depends from specification to specification. But be sure that you have at least 5 in each of the tables. And basically, if we run again, you can see I need to close a part of this just to be sure that we don't make us. Oh, good. So let's run it again. And now we'll have, this is like the module with 5 rows and the topic with 5 rows, everything runs fine. So we are good to go to the next task. So that was add the data. And the next task is to query the data. And you will receive, again, very specific queries only for you. And you need to do only those queries, not other queries. And I'll give you some examples. These are dependent from student to student, and we'll have more time to do them also next Thursday. So it's not, we'll work on such queries also on Thursday. So let's move on and take such a query. So I will give you the specification of the query now. And again, you need to start this part with include a comment. So we need to do this. Sure. All these kind of comments, you don't need to include. These are just to show you what I'm solving. And now let's assume we have this query in your specification. That depends again. It will be from everyone, it will be different. Show the name of each topic and the name of the module in which is introduced, and use nice names for colors. Something like that. So you will see this in your specification. And now I will explain you one of them, and again, we'll come back to this and we'll do more on Thursday related to queries. So what I need to do here, I need to show the names both of topic and the name of the module in which they are included. So I need to show information from two tables, and that's very important. So I will need to select, and I will take first the colors. I will need to identify the colors. And the columns for the topic is name. So I need to show this column, but if I write name and B will not look nice. So I want to put an alias, and I will put here topic as alias. I'm not telling you what to put. I said something suggestive. In my case, this will be the name of the topic, so I can put topic as a name. And then I want to put the name of the module, which if we look at the description of the module, it's title. So let's put now title as, and here again, I don't put title, I'll put module because I want to know this is the topic, this is the module, this is for the somebody reading, this will clarify what represents what I am showing. Now, what I need to do next is to specify from which tables. And in my case, I have two tables. And also we'll see that we need somehow to specify the relationship. And we'll do one way of this relationship. There are many other ways in which we can do that. So from the two tables, I will put module MB and topic MB. And if you forget to put anything else and you run it, you will know that it's wrong. So at this point, the query is wrong. And if we run it, and this is a typical mistake that people do, so that's what I will run it, you will see, you will get here a lot of results, and they are somehow repeated. You see, they repeat themselves. So because what this will do will generate a Cartesian product, all the possible combinations between these two, between the instances, between the rows in module with all the rows in topic. So we'll combine them in all possible ways. So in order not to do that, we need to restrict how we combine them. And to restrict, I will need to specify a condition, which is named a joining condition. And will tell me basically the property that we know the foreign key represents. So what we know? We know that the module code in the topic must be the code in the module. So that's what we want to write here. We want to write module code equals code in the module. And here I can write it because all these names are different. If any name is confusing, I will need to specify. If I have two names that are the same in the two tables, I don't have here, but if I will have two names identical, then I will need to prefix with the table name the particular name. But here I don't. So if I run now, you can see now it looks much better because I have the topic, nice module, and I have all the topics, the 5 topics that I put, and the 5 the modules in which they appear. Only 2 of the modules. You see, I don't see all the modules because I put only 2 of them here. Okay, so I will stop. I will stop now. This is an example of a query. Similar with some of the queries you receive. We'll do more queries on Thursday, and again, I recommend you to come because it's that's becoming a little bit harder to know how to do these queries. So, questions before I stop? I will stop the recording now. If you have any questions, anything